Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. Liam receives terrible news from Steffy, and Ridge is reprimanded by Eric for leaving Brooke. Steffy finds out from Finn at the Cliff home that the lump in Liam's brain was discovered during a hospital scan. Steffy isn't going to accept that they have no options. Liam can't be dying. They discuss how amazing a parent he is. Steffy is indifferent to the results of the scan. After spending a wonderful evening with his daughter, Liam is now telling her that he might be dying? No, I don't think so. Liam finds it difficult to read a story to his daughter in Kelly's bedroom since his vision keeps becoming hazy. He asks her to read him the book. What's wrong? She asks. Although Liam says his eyes are a little fatigued, he says he's alright. He says he'll tell her a story instead of the book. The story revolves around Kelly, a little child whose parents adore her unconditionally. According to Liam, the story's female possesses the power of kindness. Do you think I'm the Kelly in the story? His daughter wonders. Liam observes how she defends others and looks out for Hayes and Beth. He is asked by Kelly to swear that they will spend a happy life together. Liam assures us that he will not be leaving. Liam and Kelly show their affection for one another. He's always with her, but he's leaving the room. The universe is filled with his love for her. Finn verifies to Steffy that Liam has a mass on his brain in the living room. The incident at Bill's might have been brought on by it. He must return to the medical facility. They can treat it, Steffy hopes. According to Finn, it is inoperable where it is located on the brain. He was dancing with his daughter, Steffy sobs. Although Finn detests breaking the news to her, it is the reality. Finn explains that this wasn't caused by the fall, the mass was there previously. Steffy simply cannot comprehend this. That matters, Finn assures her. Because of her, Kelly and Liam had a beautiful moment. Steffy sobs as she thinks of what Liam will miss. Steffy insists she must tell him and smack him, and Finn warns, one step at a time. Eric backs Brooke at Forrester. Eric calls someone and says, I have to be the one to tell him the news. The expectations for this collection are extremely high. Brooke enters and declares that he, Ridge, and Steffy are thrilled to be back in command. He's been missed, she informs him. He's not the only person she's missing, Eric supposes. Ridge? Brooke wagers that she can identify the showstopper as she looks at the outfits on display. Eric observes that she has not responded to his query. Naturally, Brooke admits she misses Ridge. At Forrester, everything seems to be coming together. Brooke exclaims that she and Ridge are meant to be. She wishes she could come up with something that would remind him of their shared identity and help him realize they belong together. She keeps thinking about Portofino when she considers their past. Finding that garment on that boat was a beautiful moment. Eric opens the laptop and finds the wedding gown in question. He will always remember her wearing that dress. At that moment, Ridge enters and inquires, so, what's going on here? Ridge surmises that Brooke is attempting to catch the showstopper, but she is unable to do it before anybody else does. With a sly smile, Brooke replies she'll let them handle it. Eric encourages her to return later so they can talk further. When Ridge is alone himself, he asks his father, what? Eric informs Ridge that he was walking down memory lane with Brooke. He shows him the picture of the Portofino wedding dress. His eyes widened like saucers. Now when she was appointed CEO of the interim situation there, he quickly left her for Taylor. Ridge overreacted, but he was also furious. As an employee enters, Eric gives her advice while observing Ridge looking at the picture of Brooke wearing the gown on the other side of the room. Ridge thinks back to that momentous day. Eric grinned. Steffy tells Finn, I need to do this, at the Cliff home. She is amazed that despite their extensive history together, he is still creating memories with Kelly. She's so young. Liam exits the bedroom at that moment and asks Finn a question. He asks what's wrong after noticing Steffy's tear-stained face. Is Kelly sleeping? Asks Finn. Liam responds, almost. Steffy tells Liam she has to speak with him about something, and Finn enters to see how his stepdaughter is doing. When Liam is by himself, he says, "What's all this about?" "He made Kelly feel like a princess today," Steffy tells him. "She will always remember this evening." Because his head is troubling him, Liam says, "Neither will I." He wants to sit. They settle on the couch. Liam apologizes for being late for the dance. When he leaves the hospital, Steffy gripes. Kelly would have comprehended. She does not want him to jeopardize his well-being. He says, "What is going on with you?" as she begins to cry. Whoa. Steffy is attempting to maintain her composure. "Finn and Dr. Buckingham got his latest results," she says, taking his hand. Liam frowns and says, "I'm not sure how to explain this to you." "Tell me what?" Liam responds, "Steffy, you've got to." Steffy exclaims, "It's not good, Liam." Steffy claims that he has a lump on his brain. A tumor is present. Steffy nods and sobs, "You're dying, Liam." Steffy tells Liam he's dying. And they say it's inoperable. Liam reiterates, "It's inoperable." On today's episode of Bold and the Beautiful, Liam vows to stay with Kelly forever, Brooke wishes she could remind Ridge of what they have, and Finn tells Steffy there is nothing they can do. Kelly saw that Liam's vision was becoming blurry, and Finn informed Steffy that there was nothing they could do because her boyfriend was dying. Steffy enters a state of denial at the Cliff home, and Finn informs her that Liam is still unaware that he has a brain mass and that surgery is not a possibility. She won't accept that they have no options. They praise him for being a fantastic father. Steffy doesn't think he's actually going to die. They don't know a lot, he explains. Although they can do a lot, medicines cannot function. He apologizes. Although Finn detests breaking the news to her, it is the reality. His collapse and brain bleed were probably caused by it. She breaks down in tears as she talks about how Liam ought to be allowed to walk his children down the aisle. Finn promises to give Liam a detailed explanation. She believes that she ought to deliver the news. Kelly encourages Liam to read more in her room, but he is unable to see the pages. After failing to predict the text, he advises her to read it. "What is wrong?" asks Kelly. He offers to tell her a story instead, saying that his eyes are sleepy. It tells the story of Kelly, a smart, attractive girl who is a talented dancer. "Is a pony given to her?" she inquires. He claims that although the pony was cruel, her parents adore her. He gives a blink. He claims that Kelly's charm can ward off evildoers and melancholy. It's known as kindness. She laughs at that. He says he's proud of her and that she's exactly like the girl in the story. She requests that he swear to her that they will be together forever and lead a happy life. He swears he won't be leaving. Liam claims that his love fills the entire universe and will always be with her. Liam tells Finn and Steffy that she's been emotional today and leaves her to sleep. Finn doesn't bother them. Steffy assures Liam that their daughter would always remember this evening because he made her feel like a princess. He apologizes for missing the actual dance and has to sit down. Steffy is concerned that he would jeopardize her health. He wonders what's going on when she begins to sniffle. She is unsure how to break the news to him, but the physicians have received the results of his test, and they are not good. His brain has a tumor that cannot be removed. He's dying. After taking a call from Milan on the return of Couture, Brooke joins Eric at the Forrester office. She begins to admire all the drawings that come out of the vault when he asks her about Ridge. Eric tells her that he raised his son. Although she acknowledges that she misses him, it's nice to have the family back at work. She misses Ridge and loves him. It aches to see him every day. She wishes she could forget everything or come up with anything to remind him they are meant to be together. She can't get the dress she wore in Portofino off her mind. Eric recalls that as well and takes out a picture of it. Enters and inquires about the situation. Brooke is there to see the showstopper, he believes. She will have to wait, Ridge says. Brooke is asked to return later by Eric so that they can continue. When she leaves, Ridge is reminded of the Portofino gown by Eric. Ridge's eyes went crazy at the sight of it. Before someone interrupts and he gives her some instructions, Eric is lecturing Shim about re-establishing contact with Taylor. After glancing at the dress's picture, Ridge remembers Brooke on the boat. Liam Spencer's determination was louder than any machine, even if the dim hospital room was softly buzzing with monitors. He would not accept the decision that had left Brooke speechless and broken Steffy's calm. With his jaw clenched and his knuckles white against the scratchy hospital blanket, he spat through gritted teeth, "I'm not dying." Every somber glance that passed between the family and the doctors was marked by Finn's diagnosis, a somber finding of a rare, incurable tumor. Liam, however, refused to bow. Not to chance. Don't be afraid. He hadn't written his own fate. For the third time that morning, he informed Steffy, "They're wrong," in a ferocious, almost desperate voice. Steffy tried to reassure him that they would receive second, third, and 10th opinions in an attempt to calm him down, but Liam was already racing forward in his imagination, organizing his escape from death itself. This isn't the end. There was too much for him to do. Too many unspoken apologies. Too much unresolved love. Kelly still needed Hope, who had just reached out, too little, too late. Like a ghost waiting in the wings, he was plagued by the little hand in his and the daddy-daughter dance he missed. Ridge Forrester, meantime, was standing close by with his arms folded and his face creased with annoyance. The patriarch couldn't bear to watch another man deny reality, especially when that man was confusing and harming his daughter. He had witnessed death too closely in recent months, with Eric's near loss still fresh in his mind. Ridge had made an effort to remain calm. He had made an effort to be the rock. However, something in Ridge shattered when Liam yelled at Finn for giving up too easily. Enough. Ridge's voice cut through the dense hospital air as he yelled. Everybody froze. Liam, too. As a doctor, you are not. You aren't a miracle worker. His voice broke beneath the weight of suppressed emotion. And if you don't start facing what's real, you'll lose every chance you have left to say goodbye to the people who still love you. You are not alone in your pain. Liam appeared to have been slapped. His defiance wavered and was replaced by something more complex and profound, fear. Actual terror. Not only would he die, but he would also be forgotten, disappointing everyone who had ever trusted him. Even still, obstinacy held on to him like a second skin. His eyes narrowed resolutely as he murmured, "I'm not saying goodbye." "Watch me live," Steffy said, sobbing into her hands. Brooke averted her gaze to conceal her tears. Torn between his position as a doctor and a man witnessing his wife's heart break in two, Finn rubbed his temples. When Ridge rushed out, the room fell into an uncomfortable silence, but his comments reverberated in everyone's ears like a hurricane. What about Liam? Uncertain if his denial had just cost him more than his life, his dignity, his peace, perhaps even his opportunity at redemption, he remained still for the first time in hours. However, he vowed that if this was indeed the end, it would be on his own terms and no one else's. Liam Spencer has been dealing with a medical problem on the Bold and the Beautiful for some time, and the few people who are aware of it have been sworn to secrecy. Bridget informs Hope that Liam is dying. Liam was discovered unconscious outside of Bill Spencer's, Don Diamont, house by his ex-wife, Steffy Forrester, Jacqueline Maxine's Wood, who quickly took him to the hospital. Liam was informed that he had suffered a brain bleed upon regaining consciousness, and he requested that only Steffy and her physician husband, John Finn Finnegan, Tanner Novlin, be aware of the situation. They left the hospital AMA to go to Kelly's father-daughter dance after agreeing to keep quiet while Liam healed. Liam's brain has an inoperable mass. While Finn texted his wife the sobering news, Liam labored to dance with Kelly in Steffy's living room under the disco lights. Liam proceeded to put Kelly to bed as soon as Finn got home from the hospital, and Steffy fought back tears. While Finn gave Steffy medical information, Liam had trouble seeing and was attempting to read a story to Kelly before bed. Bridget chooses to inform Hope about the situation. Bridget Forrester, Ashley Jones, is still in shock by the diagnosis back at the hospital. Although she is currently advising Liam on his lawsuit, she was his sister-in-law during his marriage to Hope Logan, Annika Noel. She has known him all her life and feels terrible for Beth, the daughter of Liam and Hope. Although she had first consented to keep his health a secret, Bridget now feels that Hope should be aware of what is happening. Hope is heartbroken by Liam's finding. Hope's past several years have been difficult. Things never really worked out for her after she chose to divorce Liam. She has recently been devastated by Carter Walton's decision to side with the Forresters against her and to have her line cut. After she finds out about Liam's condition, those things become far less significant. Her ex and their shared child are now the only things on her mind. Hope had already been thinking about Liam, and this situation will undoubtedly reunite them. Saving Liam, or at least attempting to, would bring Hope and Steffy together. Normally, they fight over business or the same man. Steffy knew something had to give when the hospital room's walls started to feel more like jail bars and the antiseptic smell covered up the painful reality of Liam's prognosis. They couldn't continue to act as though LA knew everything. She was reminded of sadness in every hallway. Fear murmured around every corner. Once her fulcrum, Finn's face now appeared to be a lifeline she was unable to hold on to without slipping. And Liam, the father of her kid and the guy she had an impossible past with, was dwindling into a shadow of himself, attempting to hide the fear behind his obstinate smile. The test results were unmistakable. Liam's brain was becoming more and more inoperable, and time was running out. She murmured to him one night, her voice breaking under the strain of desperation, "There's a clinic in Zurich. They are exploring with AI-assisted operations and sophisticated neuroimaging. They have handled cases more difficult than yours." For the first time, Liam gazed at her without protesting or recoiling. "They offer people like you, like us, hope. Simply be silent." Thoughtful. Then he gave a nod. And that was the turning point in everything. Steffy cancelled board meetings, packed her daughter's belongings, and came up with a tactful but evasive justification for her prolonged departure from Forrester Creations in a matter of days. After discovering that Liam hadn't even said goodbye, Hope was devastated, Ridge was incensed, and Brooke was perplexed. He informed her, "I can't do the drawn-out farewell tour," when she unexpectedly appeared, trembling and stained with mascara. "I need to try to live, not wait to die." In the meantime, Finn, divided between personal suffering and professional loyalty, discreetly set up a specialist liaison to make sure Liam would be seen by the brightest minds in Europe, while Carter frantically dealt with legal ramifications within the corporation. However, that didn't stop the media from covering it. As Steffy wheeled Liam toward the jet while wearing a trench coat and dark shades, paparazzi scouted LAX. Though she didn't fully comprehend, Kelly knew something significant was occurring in her small heart, so she held on to her father's hand. With a faint smile, Liam informed her, "This isn't goodbye." The reality lurked behind their quiet as the private jet roared to life. "Daddy's just going on a trip to get better." They were racing against a diagnosis rather than merely avoiding it. LA was a place of tumult, memories, and unending expectations. But Zurich provided science, quiet, and possibly salvation. Steffy had never been soft, but now? This was love without reason. And after being accused of vacillating between women for a long time, Liam finally decided to fight. Not for romantic purposes. Not to be saved. For time, though. A future. A second chance at everything. And as the sun sank over Los Angeles, a city they had dominated for years, it became evident that sometimes the bravest course of action is to fly into the unknown with your heart in the air, hoping for a miracle, rather than staying to face the storm. Liam had always taken pleasure in his ability to be a level-headed, reasonable someone who could confront things head-on, regardless of how uncomfortable they might be. With a sinking feeling in his stomach, he understood that he wasn't as powerful as he believed as the truth hit him in the most unexpected way. The revelation caused a profound change in his perspective of the world and his role in it, and it was not only inconvenient. He initially attempted to ignore it, to justify it with flimsy justifications and mental acrobatics. Perhaps he was overreacting, perhaps there had been a miscommunication, or perhaps the facts were being misrepresented. But he knew deep down, when his defenses were down and everything was silent. He couldn't deny the fact, and it was killing him. Little discrepancies in the narrative he had been told, casual comments that didn't quite fit together, and an increasing feeling that something was being withheld from him were the first signs. He initially dismissed them, blaming them on misunderstandings or paranoia. However, as he probed further, the facade's cracks became wider until the entire illusion collapsed before his eyes. The reality was cruel in addition to being disagreeable. It made him reevaluate everything, including his relationships, convictions, and even his own judgment. What had he failed to notice? What had caused his blindness? He was suffocated with regret and self-doubt as the weight of his own stupidity weighed down on him. Then came the rage, engulfing and white-hot. How could they possibly deceive him? How dare they deceive him into thinking something that never existed? He wanted to lash out, to scream, to make them feel even a small part of the betrayal he was experiencing. However, he soon discovered that anger was only a front for the true feeling that was hiding there: dread. Fear that all he had said had been incorrect. Fear that lying had been the cornerstone of his life. Fear that he would never be able to return to the previous state of affairs now that the truth was out. The helplessness was the worst. No amount of denial could alter the irreparable reality that was now in the open. It would always be there, lingering in the back of his mind, a continual reminder of his own foolishness, no matter how much he tried to ignore it or how angry he became. He desired to flee, to vanish, to find a way to start over and forget the past. However, that isn't how life operates. Comfort is irrelevant to the truth. It is indifferent to emotions. Liam was forced to confront it despite the possibility that it may ruin him since it is real and unforgiving. So he tried to reason his way through it, as he always did. He might be able to uncover a weakness or a technique to lessen the blow if he examined it from all sides. However, the more he broke it down, the more unavoidable it became. History and facts were not rewritten or reinterpreted to make them more agreeable. Given the reality, Liam had to choose between allowing it to shatter him and finding a way to move on, no matter how difficult it was. He decided to ignore it for a while. To keep his mind from returning to the one thing he couldn't bear to think about, he poured himself into diversions like job, hobbies, and pointless discussions. Avoidance, however, was only a short-term solution. In quiet moments, in nightmares, and in the way others looked at him when they thought he wasn't paying attention, the truth had a way of slipping back in and surprising him. Their glances conveyed sympathy, uneasiness, and the implicit recognition that they knew something he didn't. The hardest part, acceptance, followed. Genuinely accepting the truth, not merely admitting it. It was a lengthy, excruciating process, one stride forward, two steps back, rather than a sudden epiphany. It was all he could do not to crumble beneath the weight of it on some days, and on others, he felt as like he was making progress. But he started to rebuild gradually. He had not been destroyed by the truth. Yes, it had completely shook him, but it hadn't broken him. Strangely enough, it had freed him. Because living a falsehood was worse than living the truth, no matter how terrible it was. Liam Spencer had always taken great satisfaction in his keen intellect and unflinching reasoning, but lately, nothing made sense. A brain tumor was the horrifying conclusion drawn from the migraines, lightheadedness, and unexpected memory loss. After weeks of testing, private discussions with physicians, and empathetic looks from his loved ones, the diagnosis had finally been made. However, a persistent suspicion began to grow while he sat in his darkened study, looking at the medical files strewn all over his desk. What if it wasn't even a tumor? What if this was the work of someone or something? The initial warning sign, varying symptoms. Liam has had unpredictable symptoms from the start. He would be okay 1 minute, focused and clear-headed, and then he would get a splitting headache or a wave of nausea that would leave him confused. Although the physicians had reassured him that brain tumors might manifest in a variety of ways, there was something strange about the way they explained it. Then came the times when his eyesight dimmed at the most convenient moments, always just as he was about to discover something significant. For example, when he was investigating, insert crucial plot point, a dubious business transaction, a covert affair, a long-kept secret. Is it a coincidence? Liam had some doubts. The unsolved drug. The label on his prescription bottle was official and clean, and it rested on the edge of the desk. However, the negative effects listed didn't exactly match what he was experiencing when he sought to investigate the medicine. Confusion, exhaustion, and even hallucinations were some of the symptoms he had been experiencing, and these were indeed recognized adverse effects of some poisons. The idea chilled him to the bone. Was his meds being tampered with? He remembered who could get in: his wife. His sibling? A reliable co-worker? Whoever it was would need to be cunning, intelligent, and prepared to use horrific means to prevent him from learning the truth. The test results that were missing. Then there was the issue of the files that were missing. The hospital unexpectedly lost some of his images when he asked for a second opinion. Liam didn't believe the nurse's rambling justification of a system error. When he pressed for answers, he had saw her eyes dart away. Why would anyone want to conceal his records if his diagnosis was accurate? Unless, of course, they didn't want another physician to spot something out of the ordinary, like poisoning symptoms instead of a tumor. A known trend. As Liam put the puzzle together, his thoughts were racing. This would not be the first complex lie he had ever witnessed in his life. Insert allusion to a previous plot point in which a character falsified a medical condition or altered medical records. The similarities were too great to overlook. Furthermore, if history was repeating itself, the true question was not what was wrong with him but rather who would benefit from his removal. The last hint, a silent caution. He was scared to his very core by the anonymous message that had just flashed on his phone yesterday: "Don't trust the diagnosis. They're lying to you." The number could not be traced. Now, he decided as he gazed at his image in the gloomy glass. He refused to hold off on seeing another doctor. He wouldn't trust anyone who could be poisoning him. Off the radar, he would do his own tests and discover the truth for himself. Because someone had just made a deadly error, they had underestimated Liam Spencer, if his brain tumor was actually a front for something much darker. And he was going to demonstrate the risk of that.